my breath. Jesus. I gotta tell you, that bitch tried to kill me. Based on the true story. Monday, January 9th. I open my eyes in near complete darkness. The reliable illumination creeps from the bathroom across the hallway, a pale yellow seeping through the cracked doorway of the bedroom which I share with my younger brother Reggie and Aunt Kathy. Out of habit, I roll over and peer from my perch on the top bunk down to the digital clock on top of the makeshift TV stand. It reads 12:34 a.m. in neon red. Always a magical time to me. Granted, the anticipated magic never happens outside of my head. Still, the arrangement of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 is akin to the aligning of the stars and planets in my 12-year-old universe. I turn back towards the wall with the intention of fully reclaiming the restful sleep threatening to elude me. That is when I first noticed her. For the rest of my life, I would always describe what I saw as her. The vision is too familiar. Though I'd never seen it before, and never would after this week, the substance too concrete for an impersonable it. Upon first glance, I assume that the shadow on the wall at the foot of my bed is that of my mother standing in the doorway. I glance over my shoulder, expecting her to ask, "Are you still awake?" But Mom's not there. Looking back to the wall, the shadow remains. A figure with feminine curves, standing with an air of authority, her hands on her hips. There's no way I can fall back to sleep now that my mind is preoccupied with this mystery. I sit up to get a better look at the door. Now I'm certain that there isn't anyone there. Logically, I assume that the various hats and coats on the post of the bed are creating the shadow. I shift them around, all the while expecting the ebon outline to move in concert. Yet, she stands stock still. For some reason, I know not to close the 5-foot gap between the bed and the wall. Drowsiness and shame overpower fear and curiosity, and I soon fall back to sleep. Tuesday, January 10th. Following an age-old habit, I wake up in the middle of the night. Surprisingly, I hadn't thought on the weirdness of the previous night until this particular moment. In an instant, I'm fully awake and sitting up in the bed. I look to the wall and there she is, fulfilling an unknown expectation. Okay, this is just crazy, I think to myself. I lean over the bed rail to see that Kathy is fast asleep on the trundle bed. Reggie is snoring like a hibernating bear in the bunk below me as usual. My eyes move upward towards the chain light switch just within arm's reach of my bed. I notice the time on the clock. 12:34 a.m. I pull on the chain, flooding the room with light. Of course, the shadow is gone. Not wanting to disturb my roommates, I quickly pull it again. The room returns to the semi-darkness of before. She returns as well. As I sit in the bed, I notice the motion out of the corner of my eye on the floor near the cracked opening in the doorway. I turn and see something small and hairy. After a moment, it passes through the door itself as easily as it would pass through the fully unobstructed doorway. My mind instantly conjures the image of one of our 2 fluffy Parisian house cats, but passing through the solid door? Then I recall that both cats should be on the enclosed porch, barred from the house by the locked back door. I quickly turn the light on again to discover that my sleeping aunt is indeed alone on the floor. I turn the light off again. She is at her post on the wall. The hairy creature is gone. Sleepiness returns. I lay back down somewhat unnerved, but almost instantly fall back to sleep. Wednesday, January 11th. Tonight I'm snapped into full alertness, having thought on the events of the previous 2 nights all day, even expecting something tonight. And there she is again. In one continuous motion, I sit up looking to the clock. 12:34 a.m. Looking to the cracked doorway, my gaze is drawn downward to see what I know is my 18-month-old sister passing through the door in the same manner as the hairy creature from the night before. She, however, moves to lie down beside the form of my sleeping aunt. I turn on the light before my fear and confusion can set in. Sleeping aunt, no baby sister, no shadow on the wall. I turn the light back off. Sleeping aunt, what appears to be my baby sister is lying beside her, the shadow on the wall. I creep to the foot of my bed. Just as the first night, I shuffle the coats and hats on the bedpost. She stands just as defined and defiant as before. Reaching back to the head of the bed, I grab a pillow and quickly strike the wall like someone swatting a fly. She stands like a silent sentry. I consider waking Kathy, but what would I tell her? There's a shadow on the wall. Watch out for the baby ghost. I pull the covers over my head and pray for sleep to wash over me. Were you up late the last couple of nights? I asked my mother the next day as we rushed through our morning routine. She's dressing my baby sister for the day. I think I went to the bathroom late one of those nights, she replies, not really paying any attention to the question. Did you come into our room? No. She looks up from her task with a frown. Did you have a bad dream or something? Yeah, something like that. Wow, exclaims Kathy, entering the bedroom that evening. You guys finally cleaned up in here. When I got in from school that afternoon, I hung all the coats and things usually on the foot of the bunk bed in the closet. I put away all the Transformers, Legos, stuffed animals, and other regular residents of the bedroom floor. All of our shoes were moved to their proper place on the shoe tree hanging behind the bedroom door. The doorway was completely cleared away. He even cleaned up in the bathroom, says my mother, following Kathy into the room. Yeah, I answered. I figured it might help us all sleep better. Thursday, January 12th. I awake as if on cue. I close my eyes again and hope for another outcome. Opening them slowly, I lay still as stone for a few more seconds. 1, 2, 3. I sit up so quickly that I get a slight head rush. She is back. Looking down to the clock, 12:34 a.m. I begin to reach for the coats and hats at the foot of the bed until I recall that they have been put away in the closet. That is when I notice them on the floor in the doorway. For the first time all week, I try rubbing and refocusing my eyes. It does not help. I still see 4 tiny cats, roughly the size of my thumbs, running around in a circle. Through the opening in the doorway, passing through the solid door and back again. When I reach for the light switch, they abruptly stop and look up, taking notice of me. I freeze. Appearing satisfied, or maybe even just unbothered, they start running again. I take a deep breath and pull on the light switch. No tiny cats. My aunt just barely stirs in her sleep. One hand still on the light switch, I look over to the wall. No shadow. I sigh and pull on the light switch again while watching the door. The racing cats reappear with the darkness. A quick glance over my shoulder confirms that she has returned. Leaning over the railing of the bed, I consider climbing down, but something about those cats confines me to my bed. Staring at the wall, her familiarity is more intense than the first night, but still anything but comforting. I try in vain to suppress a body-shuddering yawn. Once again, I find security in the folds of my blanket. Friday, January 13th, 12:34 a.m. She is at her station, right on time for our nightly date. Attempting to break the maddening midnight monotony, I reach under my pillow. In one fluid motion, I pull out the flashlight I had hidden beneath it like a lightsaber. peering over the railing of my bed and point the beam of light at the floor of the cracked doorway. The shadow surprises me instead of the other way around. There's nothing on the floor. At least, nothing that shouldn't be there. Kathy's fast asleep, but no hairy creatures, no ghostly babies, no ridiculous racing kittens. What was that even about? I swivel my attention back towards the wall with the light. She's gone. She's gone. Not that I really expected to see her in the light. I turn off the flashlight, inviting the darkness which comes with the second surprise of the night. I lean in for a closer look and place an uneasy hand on the wall where she should be. Despite my timid search, the result is the same. The shadow is gone. I sit in silence, too dumbfounded to be grateful. I would have a lifetime to ponder the who, what, and why, to confound, confuse, and entertain others with the tale. Tonight, though, there seems but one sensible course of action: sleep.